The unexpected encounter. The maintenance tunnel was eerily silent except for the soft, rhythmic thumping of Lieutenant Adam Pierce's boots on the cold metal floor. He had been running for what felt like hours, the air thick with tension. Each step was a battle against the overwhelming sense of urgency that gnawed at him. His heart was racing in his chest, and his breath came in short, strained gasps, mixing with the humid heat that permeated the narrow passage. The dim, flickering emergency lights cast long shadows along the walls, distorting the shapes of various mechanical equipment that lined the tunnel. The acrid scent of burning plastic and chemicals hung in the air, a constant reminder of the destruction that had already begun. Adam's left arm ached where the dark, oily substance had spilled, clinging to his sleeve like a stubborn parasite. He could feel the tingling sensation of the alien material spreading, its corrosive tendrils beginning to fuse with his skin. The feeling of something unnatural bonding with him was a sensation he would never forget. He couldn't afford to waste time. If this substance continued to spread, there would be nothing left to save. His mind raced with the possibilities of what could happen if he failed to get help in time. He'd seen this happen before. An experimental Xarthian compound designed to immobilize and incapacitate enemy soldiers had backfired. During the mission's initial breach, the containment unit had ruptured, releasing the adhesive compound into the environment. The result was chaos. Now it was a race against time as the substance hardened with each passing second, threatening to leave him stuck in this nightmarish scenario, unable to fight or escape. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden voice over his comms. It was Captain Anna Hayes, leader of the human resistance. "Lieutenant, do you copy? Where are you?" Her voice crackled through the static, the urgency unmistakable. "I'm close," Adam replied, forcing his voice to stay steady despite the panic that threatened to bubble over. He couldn't let Anna hear the doubt creeping into his mind. "But I've got a problem. My arm. It's been covered in the compound." A brief silence stretched across the comms. Anna's response was swift, her tone sharp. "You need to get back here now. The Xarthians have activated the weapons array. We need you to help us disable it before it's too late." Adam paused, his fingers instinctively flexing in an effort to stave off the numbing stiffness already creeping up his arm. "I can't. I need to get rid of this compound first." "Understood," Anna said after a beat, her voice softening slightly. "But you're running out of time. The array is already locked in. We need you." Adam glanced at the horizon ahead of him. There was no way he could turn back now. Not when the fate of their mission hung in the balance. He pushed forward, ignoring the searing pain in his arm and the growing realization that he might be too late. But he wasn't a quitter. Not when humanity was counting on him. As he rounded another corner, he stopped dead in his tracks. Before him stood a figure, a Xarthian soldier, its towering frame silhouetted against the emergency lighting. The alien skin was a glossy silver, shimmering faintly under the lights. Its body was sleek and aerodynamic, built for speed and precision. The Xarthian was clad in dark battle armor that hugged its form, adorned with strange, alien symbols etched into its surface. Adam's eyes narrowed. This wasn't just any soldier. This was an elite Xarthian warrior, the kind that had caused humanity so much grief. His pulse quickened as the reality of the situation set in. If he wanted to survive long enough to get back to the weapons array, he'd need to deal with this alien first. The Xarthian's violet eyes locked onto Adam's with an unnerving calmness. It tilted its head slightly, as if studying him, before lifting its hand. A low hum filled the air as a pulsing energy field surrounded the alien's hand. Adam knew that the alien wasn't here for conversation. It was here to kill. Adam's grip tightened on the plasma rifle slung across his back, his breath steadying. The odds were stacked against him. He knew that. But humans had a way of defying the odds. That was their strength. That was his strength. "You will not escape." The Xarthian's voice was cold, mechanical, devoid of any emotion. "You are no match for me." Adam's heart raced, but his mind was clear. The alien's words didn't scare him. He knew the odds. He had been in enough battles to understand that courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was moving forward despite it. The human resistance had fought against insurmountable odds for years, and they had always found a way to overcome. With a quick flick of his wrist, Adam pulled his plasma sword from its sheath. The familiar blue glow bathed the tunnel, casting long shadows. His mind raced through the tactics and moves he had learned in the years of training and fighting. Every move counted. Every second mattered. The Xarthian raised its hands, and in an instant, a bolt of purple energy shot toward Adam. He sidestepped just in time, feeling the air hum as the blast passed by his ear. The heat of the energy still lingered in the air, and Adam could feel the intensity of the attack. He had no time to waste. Adam lunged forward, his plasma sword raised high. The alien dodged effortlessly, moving with the speed of a predator, its silver body flowing with unnatural grace. Adam barely had time to react as the Xarthian countered with a kick that sent him stumbling back. His heart pounded, but he gritted his teeth and pressed forward. Humans are so predictable, the Xarthian sneered, its voice dripping with disdain. You think you can defeat us with your primitive weapons? Adam didn't answer. He couldn't afford to waste breath. The plasma sword hummed with energy as he swung it again, narrowly missing the Xarthian's side. Each move was calculated. Each strike meant to wear the alien down. He knew he couldn't rely on sheer strength alone. His advantage lay in his unpredictability, his ingenuity. Suddenly, the Xarthian surged forward, its speed almost too fast for Adam to track. It swung its energy-enhanced arm toward him, and Adam instinctively blocked with his sword. The impact sent a shockwave through his body, but he held firm, his muscles straining against the force. He could feel the alien's energy crackling, pushing him back with each blow. Then, as the Xarthian's weapon came down in a devastating arc, Adam made his move. He twisted to the side, avoiding the fatal strike, and with a swift motion, he drove his plasma sword into the alien's side. The Xarthian let out a strangled growl, stumbling back as the plasma cut through its armor. Adam didn't stop. He pressed forward, determined to finish this once and for all. In the brief moment of victory, Adam couldn't help but wonder, had he just turned the tide? Was this the turning point in humanity's battle for survival? His heart was still racing, his arm still aching from the adhesive compound that clung to him. But he had done it. The Xarthian was down. For now, at least. Captain Hayes, Adam breathed into his comms. It's done. I'm on my way. But we need to move fast. As he turned to run, his eyes locked on the exit of the tunnel. There was no time to waste. The next phase of the battle awaited. And Adam Pierce, like every other human who had fought before him, would never give up. He had a mission to complete. The shifting tides. Adam Pierce's chest heaved as he stepped over the fallen Xarthian's body, still hot from the energy weapon that had barely missed him in the skirmish. The air inside the maintenance tunnel seemed thicker now, as though it, too, felt the weight of the battle that had just unfolded. He wiped the sweat from his brow, feeling the slight sting as his fingers brushed against his injured arm. The alien adhesive compound was still creeping up his arm, a constant reminder of how close he had come to being trapped forever by the very technology designed to incapacitate him. His boots echoed sharply as he continued forward, determined not to lose precious time. He didn't know how much longer it would take for the Xarthians to launch their weapons array. Every second counted. "Lieutenant, are you there?" Captain Anna Hayes' voice crackled through the comms, her tone clipped and serious. "I'm here, Captain," Adam responded, trying to keep his voice steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through his veins. "I took care of the soldier in the tunnel, but it's far from over. The weapons array is still active, isn't it?" "Yes, and we're running out of time," Anna said urgently. "The array is online, but we've been trying to gain access to the mainframe to disable it. You need to get back here. The resistance needs you." Adam gritted his teeth, He had been hoping that their mission wouldn't come to this point, needing him to rush back to the heart of the operation after such a dangerous encounter. But the fight wasn't over, and his job wasn't finished. Not yet. "I'm on my way," he said quickly, trying to ignore the dull ache in his arm. "I've got something to work with here. I'll make it." With the comms buzzing in his ear, Adam kept moving forward, his eyes scanning the darkened path ahead of him. The walls of the tunnel, cold and metallic, seemed to stretch endlessly in both directions. There were no signs of other Xarthian soldiers, but Adam wasn't fooled. He knew this wasn't over. The Xarthians were relentless. They'd learned the tactics of humanity, how to anticipate their moves. Adam knew that the battle had just shifted into another phase. He reached the maintenance hatch at the far end of the corridor and hesitated only for a moment before slamming his palm into the control panel. The hatch slid open with a hydraulic hiss, revealing the central operations room beyond. Adam stepped through the threshold, immediately greeted by the cool air of the human resistance's base, and a sight he was familiar with, the ever-present glow of the central command hub. "Adam." Anna's voice came through again, louder this time. "We don't have much longer. The Xarthians have fortified the mainframe. We can't break through without your help." Adam nodded, stepping further into the operations room. His eyes immediately fell upon the glowing holographic displays scattered around the room, showing maps and schematics of the Xarthian weapons array. The resistance team was working in overdrive, desperately trying to bypass the array's encryption protocols. "We've tried everything," Anna continued, her frustration evident. "We need a way to get to their control system, bypass their security. The whole damn place is locked down tighter than a military stronghold." Adam's gaze lingered on the holographic displays, his mind running through possibilities. He had been briefed on the Xarthian security measures before the mission, but he never imagined they'd be up against something this sophisticated. The weapons array they were trying to disable was unlike anything humanity had ever faced, a device capable of deploying mass destruction on a planetary scale. The weight of the situation pressed down on Adam. Humanity had been fighting the Xarthians for so long, but this was a different kind of battle. They weren't just fighting for their survival. They were fighting for the future of the entire human race, and he was one of the key pieces in this war. There could be no failure. "Okay, let's break this down," Adam said, his voice calm and steady despite the chaos around him. "We've got to find the weak link in their system. They've made it airtight, but every system has a vulnerability." Anna raised an eyebrow. "And how do you plan to find it? They've encrypted everything." Adam looked at her and then at the map of the weapons array. A thought began to form in his mind, and he couldn't shake it. There had to be a pattern. A way in. "I've seen Xarthian systems before. We fought a similar encryption during the Center campaign," Adam said, stepping closer to the holographic screen and pointing at a specific section. It wasn't perfect. There was always a backdoor, a way to exploit a fault in their system. He turned toward one of the engineers in the room. "Get me their encryption protocol file," he instructed. The engineer nodded, quickly typing away at the terminal. Within moments, the encryption file was transferred to Adam's console. His eyes scanned the data quickly, recognizing the familiar structure of the Xarthian system. It was just like the one he had encountered years ago during the battle for Center, but this one was far more advanced. The encryption was tight, but Adam was no stranger to breaking codes. "Here," he muttered, zooming in on a specific string of code. "It's a backdoor, a hidden command embedded in their encryption to allow the system to be reset in case of an emergency. They likely use it to shut everything down remotely if the array malfunctions. We can use it to get access to their mainframe." Anna's eyes narrowed as she processed the information. "But how do we activate it? They must have sealed it off after the last time they used it." Adam smirked, his confidence growing as he found the key to the system's vulnerability. "They're not as smart as they think they are. All I need is to reverse the polarity on their signal. If I can send a surge of electrical energy through their system, I'll force it to trigger the reset. He turned to another engineer. Can you set up an electrical surge that'll reach their mainframe? We'll need a direct link. The engineer nodded again, already moving to another console. Give me 2 minutes, he said. Adam turned back to Anna, who was watching him with a mix of hope and skepticism. Do you really think this will work? I'm not just hoping. I'm betting everything on it. Adam replied, his voice steady. The countdown had begun. Every second that passed felt like a lifetime, the weight of the mission pressing down on Adam's shoulders. The risk was high. If they failed, the weapons array would fire, and Earth would be nothing more than ashes. But Adam refused to consider failure. As the engineer worked, Adam's thoughts drifted briefly back to the fight in the tunnel. The Xarthian soldier had been formidable, but in the end, it had underestimated him. The aliens always did. Humans had an unrelenting spirit, a fire that no amount of alien technology or advanced weaponry could extinguish. They might be outgunned, outmanned, and outclassed in nearly every other way, but they never gave up. Almost there, the engineer said, snapping Adam out of his reverie. The screen flickered as the electrical surge was set into motion. Adam's heart pounded. This was it. The surge of power coursed through the system. The lights flickered, and for a moment, the room seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a sharp hiss, the mainframe's encryption collapsed, allowing access to the weapons array. The screen flashed green, signaling success. Adam exhaled slowly. It's done. Anna let out a relieved breath, her face breaking into a grin. We did it. Now let's finish this. But Adam knew the battle was far from over. They had taken the first step, but there was still one final hurdle to overcome. The Xarthians wouldn't go down without a fight. The call to action. The quiet hum of the Resistance's base was punctuated by the soft clattering of keyboards and the murmur of engineers working tirelessly. Adam Pierce stood in the center of the command room, watching the screens flash with information as the team continued their relentless efforts. His mind was still racing from the surge of energy that had disabled the Xarthian encryption, an unexpected victory in the face of overwhelming odds. But Adam knew better than to celebrate too soon. This was only the beginning, and the next phase would demand more than just a few clever tricks. It would require everything he had. Good work, Lieutenant, Captain Anna Hayes said, her voice tinged with a rare note of praise. You cracked their encryption faster than I thought possible. But the real challenge is still ahead of us. Adam nodded grimly, not one to rest on his laurels. He knew what Anna meant. The Xarthians had developed the weapons array as part of a secret project, an advanced planetary-scale weapon capable of obliterating entire cities in seconds. They had fought countless battles to prevent it from launching, but the stakes had never been this high. This wasn't just a battle for survival. This was humanity's last stand. We've got access to their system now, Adam said, his voice low. But they'll know we're inside. The next move is critical. We need to disable the array before they activate the secondary defense systems. Once those go live, we're done. Anna was already moving, her sharp gaze flicking between the digital maps and the live data feeds from the weapons array. The countdown to launch is still running, but there's a secondary system that's linked to the array. If we don't shut it down manually, we're looking at a full-scale bombardment in less than 15 minutes. Adam's stomach tightened at the thought of such destruction. The countdown clock on the display seemed to taunt him, its ticking sound growing louder with each passing second. They didn't have much time. Where is the secondary control panel? He asked, his mind whirring. We need to get there now. Anna pointed to a set of coordinates on the map, a location deep within the Xarthian facility, far beyond the main control room. It's located in a heavily guarded sector. The good news is, we know where it is. The bad news is, it's swarming with Xarthian soldiers. They've been stationed there specifically to guard the backup systems. Adam exhaled slowly, considering their options. A direct assault on the facility would be suicide. They would never make it past the outer defenses without being wiped out. But there had to be another way in. He was certain of it. Humanity had faced far worse odds and survived by using their ingenuity. The problem wasn't the strength of the enemy. It was their ability to think outside the box. "We need to cause a diversion," Adam said, more to himself than anyone else. He turned to Anna, his eyes focused. "If we draw enough of them away from the control panel, we can slip in undetected." Anna raised an eyebrow. "You have a plan?" Adam smiled, the idea forming in his mind. "I do, but it's risky. We'll need a small team to infiltrate the facility, while the rest of us create a distraction big enough to pull their attention." Anna didn't hesitate. "I'm with you, but we'll need every advantage we can get. I'll have our best engineers work on providing you with the tools you need to pull this off. You'll have backup in case things go south, but we can't afford to lose this window of opportunity." Adam nodded. "Let's move." The next few minutes were a blur of activity. The resistance forces scrambled to prepare for the operation, working quickly to arm Adam and his team with everything they might need. Adam's pulse quickened as he strapped on the gear, checking the digital maps of the Xarthian facility once more. They had limited time, and everything had to go according to plan. As Adam prepared to leave the command room, Anna stopped him. Her eyes were serious, yet there was a glimmer of trust in them that Adam had earned over the years of fighting alongside her. "Be careful, Adam," she said, her voice low. "This isn't just about disabling the weapons array anymore. This is about saving everything we've fought for." Adam met her gaze, his resolve hardening. "I'll make sure of it." With his team of 4 hand-picked soldiers, Adam set out for the designated infiltration point. The journey to the Xarthian facility was fraught with danger. Every corner they turned could be their last. The dense, alien terrain outside the resistance base was a hostile landscape. Craggy mountains, dense forests of twisted, towering trees, and sprawling rocky plains that offered no cover. They were deep behind enemy lines, and there was no turning back now. As they moved closer to their destination, Adam's thoughts drifted back to his earlier encounter with the Xarthian soldier. The alien had been a formidable adversary, but Adam had bested it. It was a small victory in the grand scheme of things, but it reminded him of the one thing he always relied on in battle: humanity's unwavering will to survive. The Xarthians might have superior technology, but Adam had something they couldn't replicate: creativity, resourcefulness, and determination. These traits were woven into the very fabric of humanity, and Adam was counting on that fact to help them win this battle. When they finally reached the outer perimeter of the facility, Adam took a moment to assess the situation. The Xarthian soldiers were stationed in clusters, their advanced weaponry scanning for intruders. There was no way they would make it through undetected unless they acted quickly. Adam nodded to his team, signaling them to move. They had rehearsed this many times before: stealth, speed, and precision. There was no room for error. They worked their way through the shadows, staying low to the ground as they avoided the alien patrols. Every step was measured. Every breath counted. The tension in the air was palpable as they neared the secondary control panel's location. Adam's mind raced with thoughts of the mission's stakes. If they failed now, humanity would lose everything. They would never get another chance. As they approached the building, a sudden alarm blared, its shrill tone piercing the stillness of the night. The sound reverberated off the surrounding mountains, announcing their presence to the Xarthian forces. Adam's heart dropped. They had been spotted. Without hesitation, Adam grabbed his weapon and signaled for the team to move in. The element of surprise was gone, but they weren't out of options yet. A diversion was their only chance now. "Go, now!" Adam shouted, and his team rushed toward the control panel while he and the others opened fire on the nearest group of Xarthians. The sudden barrage of plasma blasts sent the aliens scattering, but it also meant they had lost the chance for stealth. The firefight that followed was intense. The Xarthians responded quickly, their own weapons crackling with lethal energy. Adam's team moved quickly, using every piece of cover they could find, firing back with precision. The ground trembled beneath their feet as explosions rang out in all directions. Amidst the chaos, Adam's focus remained unwavering. He had one goal: to keep the Xarthians off his team long enough for them to reach the control panel. Time was running out. The weapons array was ready to launch, and if they didn't succeed in shutting it down now, there would be no future for humanity. As the battle raged around him, Adam's thoughts were clear. There would be no retreat. There would be no surrender. The resistance would either succeed, or they would fall together. But one thing was certain: humanity would never give up.